Alrighty, so news of the week episode on this Thursday late afternoon because yesterday I was out the whole day and hence that's why I did the review for those free CCL games that happened yesterday and I did it today, and the same goes for the news of the week. But the first news we're going to talk about, and I was actually thinking about making a video about this topic, but then I thought, it was just going to be a repeat of what I said before on the ongoing scandal that's going on with the U.S. Soccer Federation, or if you want to put it informally, it's basically the Reyna family versus Berhalter feud that is going on right now. Now, there is new information that's been released by U.S. Soccer Federation, and they did release a statement of finding that it is pretty clear that the reason why the Reyna family decided to bring up these allegations against Berhalter that he had during his early youth career is because of the lack of playing time their son Gio Reyna have received during the World Cup, which I think that is the most duh kind of statement I think you would see, because I mean it was pretty obvious that of course is the reason why the Reyna family decided to do what they have done. Now, from what I heard in terms of the reaction from the general public, I feel like there's started to be more sympathetical toward Berhalter than we've seen before, because before I think there was a lot of people criticizing Gregg Berhalter and maybe siding toward the Reyna family, but as this ongoing scandal that has continued and this investigation that's continued, it seems like more and more people are siding toward Berhalter rather than the Reyna family, and rightfully so, because I feel like this is just a classic example of what happened when the culture that we had with soccer mom or soccer parents kind of go to an extreme level. And I'm also going to kind of quote what Christian Pulisic have said earlier today. He thinks this situation is just completely childish, and again, I agree with him, because I just think that this whole situation is unnecessary and that it's unfortunate the situation that Gregg Berhalter find himself in, and it's just kind of part of the soccer mom and soccer parents culture that kind of gone in a very toxic kind of way. Now, obviously, there's been talks about what exactly is the punishment and the consequences is going to be, and we'll probably won't find out until this investigation is completely over. But there's been some speculation saying that the U.S. Soccer Federation simply just need to ban the Reyna family, ban them from having any affiliation with the U.S. Soccer Federation, any time when they try to attend U.S. men's national team game, and even some has gone far to say that Gio Reyna should be banned from playing the U.S. Men's national team, which I think that maybe is a little bit too far of a punishment, because I don't think this is on Gio Reyna. I mean, I do feel bad for Gio Reyna in some sense. The fact that yes, he is frustrated of what happened during the World Cup, but it kind of doesn't help when his parents basically adds into just the unnecessary fuel in terms of this scandal that probably should have never have happened in the first place, and now it seems like he's going to be dragged down by his parents' action, and that I don't think he should be because of that. And also, what's kind of also interesting is that as I'll talk about the Nations League roster, he's actually part of the Nations League roster that Anthony Hudson just announced a couple of days ago. So that is going to be very interesting. Maybe kind of awkward for him, the fact that he's going to be there, and that, yeah, I wonder what his teammates is going to. I don't think a lot of them will really want to give him too much respect of the ongoing situation that is going on. But either way, again, hopefully this will work out, and that, once this investigation is going to be over, I'll definitely maybe think about doing a video talk about the repercussion in terms of this scandal. But again, it just feels like this scandal is just really childish, and it's something that should never have happened, and something that just went from being just kind of a small deal to being an unnecessary big deal that has just plagued this soccer federation. And now that there's the question of is Gregg Berhalter still going to be retaining his job? I mean, there's been rumors saying that he could still be retaining his jobs in this situation, but after all this, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how things is going to go with this ongoing scandal that's been now plaguing the soccer federation for good parts of 3 months now. Now, moving on in terms of talking about some of the signings. We had two signings that happened in this past week. Both are defender signing and both are fullback signing. We start off with Toronto FC acquiring defender Christian Gutierrez, and this, of course, is just a couple of weeks after the Vancouver Whitecaps decided to release Christian Gutierrez, and TFC basically said, thank you very much, we're going to pick him up as part of our depth chart. Now, I will say this, is that, Christian Gutierrez, he could be a decent player if he can stay healthy. That's the key word in terms of he's been dealing with so many injury issue with the Vancouver Whitecaps, and I think that's kind of this, hence why he was eventually released, because the Whitecaps just couldn't deal with the numerous injury setbacks that he has. And also knowing the fact that TFC has already suffered a bit of an injury bug, especially toward their attacking core, they're probably trying to low up depth and maybe hope that some of the depth piece that they have will actually turns out to be well, because again, that's been the problem for TFC heading into the season, is that they don't have a lot of depth, and that I don't think it should become to anybody's surprise that they're struggling early in the season, because pretty much this squad is a very hollow shell, and that once that hollow shell has been penetrated, then you can see the true nature of this TFC team, which is clearly nowhere near a team to be competing for the playoffs, let alone just competing for the Eastern Conference title. Now, the Chicago Fire, they have also acquired defender Alonso Aceves on loan from Pachuca, so this is clearly another signings for them to kind of give maybe more competition in terms of the fullback position, maybe give competition to our Miguel Navarro in that fullback position. I mean, I'm not saying Miguel Navarro has been bad, but I'm pretty sure that the Fire is looking to trying to upgrade that position, and we'll see whether or not if this guy is going to be the guy that maybe even can get the starting spot. I mean, I don't really know a lot about him of whether or not if he was actually even a starter for that Pachuca side, and if he is, then I won't be surprised the Fire might thrust him right in to the starting 11, and unfortunately Navarro will be the unfortunate one to drop down in the depth chart to maybe be as a backup fullback for this team. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and now talk about some injury news. Toronto FC star Lorenzo Insigne is set to miss 3 to 4 matches following that groin injury that he suffered against DC United. Now, this is very unfortunate because of the fact that I was actually planning to go to watch the Quakes versus Toronto FC, and I'm still planning to do so. But one of the reasons why I want to go there is to see the two great Italian in Federico Benedeschi and Lorenzo Insigne, and the fact that Insigne is injured and he probably won't be featured in that game for the Quakes, it's going to be a little bit of a downer to not able to see him play, because I've been a big fan of him. Even going back to when I used to play FIFA career mode, he is kind of a winger that I always tends to sign because of the speed that he brings, and that it's kind of unfortunate that I won't be able to see him play in person because of this groin injury. But most importantly for TFC, I mean, I guess the only good thing about this is that it's not a long-term injury. I mean, if it's a long-term injury, this would be devastating for this TFC attack, because this TFC attack, as I mentioned, has been decimated by injuries already in the beginning of the season. And it kind of all started with Lorenzo Insigne going down, and then next thing you know, Diamande went down, and then Ayo Akinola went down to a point where they were down to just two decent or even one decent forward in Benedeschi in this team. So it sucks the fact that they're going to lose their star player for a couple of games, but it could have been a lot worse than they imagined. Speaking of it could have been a lot worse, there is some good news for Philadelphia Union fans that goalkeeper Andre Blake looks like he's diagnosed with grade 1 abductor strain, and they said that is the lowest grade for an abductor strain. Now, I am not a doctor, and I don't know exactly how many weeks he's going to be out, and judging by the article that I read, they didn't even say exactly how many games he's going to miss, but the Union is hope that he can be ready before the CCL two-legged affair, and I believe they're playing Tigres in the quarterfinal, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's either Tigres or Atlas as one of those Liga MX teams that the Union will have to face. They need Andre Blake. They need Andre Blake desperately, and this is not to to disrespect Joe Bendick, but I think it is pretty clear that if they do have to face against Tigres, Andre Blake better be between the stake, because if they want to have any chances, we saw what Tigres can bring to the table against Orlando City, and really, I think the only reason why Orlando City survive as long as they can is because Pedro Galese when Manuel Neuer mowed against Tigres, and we know Andre Blake can do the same thing. Heck, I mean, he is the reigning goalkeeper of the year in MLS, so there's no doubt that they desperately need him back for those two-legged affair, and we'll see whether or not they are going to do so. I mean, they have said that they're not going to try to rush him back, but I feel like they kind of maybe have to if they want to have some aspiration of going deep in the competition, because, again, if they do play Tigres in that two-legged affair, they need to have Andre Blake back healthy, because if he's not back healthy, I don't think they have a lot of shot of potentially get past one of the tournament favorite, that is Tigres, in a two-legged affair. Now, moving on in terms of the next news. So, Inter Miami decided to sign Bryce Duke to a contract extension. Not a big surprise, because I think Bryce Duke has really started to find a home with Inter Miami. Although I'm kind of a little disappointed that he hasn't been getting as much minutes as I thought that he would be getting this season after a breakout season that he has last year. But nevertheless, he just judging by the performance that he had last season, absolutely deserve a contract extension. Now, moving on in terms of some of the transfer rumors that has happened, and probably the biggest transfer rumor that has happened this week is the transfer rumor regarding Roberto Firmino. So there is now rumor that Firmino could be coming to MLS and is linking with several MLS team, and one team specifically that seems like is going to potentially win the Roberto Firmino sweepstake is St. Louis City SC. And the reason why I say that is because when Roberto Firmino was with Hoffenheim before he went to Liverpool, the technical director for Hoffenheim is basically the same sporting director right now, and the same GM for St. Louis City. So yeah, there's clearly a connection there, and that if Firmino does come to MLS, I mean that definitely adds another big weapon for the St. Louis team. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be playing as a number 9, even though I think during his time with Liverpool he's been playing as a 9. He's sometimes playing as a winger, and in this case, I think he'll probably play in the winger role, knowing the fact that João Klaus will basically occupy that spot. But my oh my, if they do get the signature for Firmino, I mean Firmino is not as good as what we have seen before during the peak of his power with Liverpool a couple of years ago, but he is still a serviceable striker and, well, a serviceable attacker that can bring a lot of good things to the St. Louis team if they do decide to secure his signature. Now, Wayne Rooney says that he is set to bring Lewis O'Brien to DC United on loan from Nottingham Forest. Now, I don't know a lot about this guy, whether if he is actually. Some people said that he's playing in the 8 position. Some people say he's playing in the winger position. But it seems like most people can agree that this is just a depth signing that DC United is trying to get, and it's also a very Wayne Rooney-esque kind of signing. I mean, it seems like DC is trying to bring all these players from either from the Championship or currently playing in the Premier League, that is Nottingham Forest. But before that, they were still playing in the Championship. So again, we'll see whether or not if this signing is going to go through, and whether if this is going to just use as depth piece, or maybe he could be a regular starter under Wayne Rooney. Now, moving on in terms of talking about news that is not transfer rumors, injuries, or signings that has happened in this past week, is MLS Next Pro. So they have finally announced the 2023 schedule, and this has been something that I've been waiting for a long time, thinking like, what is going to happen to MLS Next Pro? Are they going to have a season? Because we're now already into March. I'm thinking like, aren't the season supposed to start around the same time when MLS is starting? Well, it seems like it is going to start soon, as they have announced the schedule. And they also announced the playoff format will be expanded. It's now expanded to 12 teams. And one unique factor with the expanded playoffs is that the first 2 rounds, you can pick who you're going to be facing in the playoffs. So that is definitely going to be interesting to see. And that, in some way, I kind of wish that maybe is a playoff format that could be introduced in MLS too. I mean, imagine if you are like the top seed and you basically pick your opponent. I mean, I know for most part they'll probably, if you have that option of picking your opponent, if you're the top seed, you're probably gonna pick the lower seed, though not always, because sometimes you could have teams that could be heading into the playoffs in a good run and they're the lower seed, and those are kind of the team that you do not want to face. So I think with this option, there is a chance for those teams to avoid picking teams that might be coming into the playoff hot, and you have to face them straight off the bat, even though you're the higher seed. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that's going to turn out, and also interested to see how the second year of MLS Next Pro is going to be. I mean, the first year, I don't know if you can call it a success, because we didn't really see some really notable player that has come from MLS Next Pro and that they immediately do well once they got into MLS. But I think it's just going to be a process. I mean, it's going to take a couple years for a lot of these players that's playing the league, because after all, the whole point of MLS Next Pro is basically kind of like a minor league system, where a lot of players that didn't make it to the MLS team or maybe got drafted there gets to play in those teams and see how they're going to perform to a point where they can actually get promoted by their MLS affiliate team, or maybe even sold off to Europe for some money. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the second year is going to look like. And not to mention, the one thing about MLS Next Pro that is also interesting is some of the rules that they have put. I mean, they have specifically talked about the time wasting rule, and they're trying to limit that. But I think one rule that is very smart in terms of them introduce is the substitution time wasting rule, where if you decided to not get on the pitch after you've been subbed on for 10 seconds and get into your position, then if a player doesn't jog off the field in 10 seconds, then the player that is brought on have to wait 60 seconds before the player is being substituted. So basically, you'll be down a man for a minute, and that might not seem like a long time, but believe me, a minute, it could be a long time. You could be down a man, and all of a sudden things could go against you, especially if you're defending a set piece. So yeah, I think that's a great rule to introduce in terms of eliminating the time wasting thing, and I think it's rightfully so. The fact that I feel like in this league, I don't think we should see like a lot of time wasting. I mean, yes, it's good to get resort for your specific team, but I think the ultimate goal for a lot of those players is they want to play well to a point where they can definitely be noticed by a lot of these scouts in MLS or even their affiliated team to potentially getting promoted into the senior team. Now, FIFA has announced how the format of the expanded World Cup will look like for 2026, and the format is pretty simple. I mean, it's kind of what we thought it was going to be. It's going to be similar to what the Euros is, where how in the Euros there's like 24 teams, and basically they have like eight groups of, or actually not 6 groups of 4, and the top 2, and also the four teams that is the best third place finish will move on into the next round. Well, basically it's the same thing for FIFA. The only difference is that they're going to have 12 groups of 4, and that the top 2, of course, move on into the round of 32, and then you have I believe it's the 8 best third place finisher out of those 12 group that is also moving on into the round 32. I mean, basically that was kind of the best way for FIFA was going to ring. I mean, I know I've heard rumors of them bring like a group of 3, and that they probably will go with maybe like 16 group of 3, and that just sounds ridiculously crazy. And I'm glad that they decide not to do that, because I think if they do a 16 group of 3, I mean, that means the 2 teams that from that 16 group of 3 will move on, and it just feels like now that it just kind of provide a little bit meaningless in terms of how the group stage game is going to be. And we'll also see how the way group stage is going to look, because I think with the one of the thing I remember when the Euros decided to do like what FIFA is going to do with the World Cup for this upcoming edition is that it provides a lot of boring kind of group stage kind of game, and I just have a fear that maybe it's going to be the same case, especially when teams want to play it safe, and that now that you don't necessarily have to get like the best top two spot, maybe on the first group stage game, we might see a lot of games that could be a 0-0 draw and could be really boring kind of game. But that being said, speaking of FIFA, they have also announced that they have expanded the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup, and because they expanded it, they've also announced that pretty much the previous edition of the CONCACAF Champions League winner, and then the this year's CCL winner and next year's CCL winner will be part of the 2025 FIFA Club World Cups. And knowing the fact that the Seattle Sounders won CCL last year, that means that, congratulations, Seattle, you're going back to the FIFA Club World Cup, and that the Sounders will become the first MLS team to now do it twice in a row. I mean, again, this is why it's great, the fact that the Sounders won CCL, and another example of why it's such a watershed moment for an MLS team to win a CCL trophy, because not only we no longer have the discussion of the fact that is this finally the year where we see an MLS team win CCL, but now you could have a situation where there could be a situation where the Club World Cup is expanded, like what the 2025 is going to be, that you could potentially get yourself back into the Club World Cup. And I'm pretty sure that when the Sounders does go to the Club World Cup in 2025, you know that they have something to prove, and that they definitely want to go far in that tournament after knowing what happened in this year's FIFA Club World Cup. It's kind of a bittersweet kind of moment of them making it and then getting knocked out after just one game. Now, moving on into the last two news. First, we're going to talk about the U.S. men's national team Nation League roster, because Nation League is going to be happening in these upcoming weeks. In fact, I think this week we have a lot of players that is going to be going out for international break. And yes, that means there are going to be MLS games that's going to be happening in international break, and there's actually full slate of MLS games that's happening in international break. So cue the discussion of how this is just completely unfair in terms of MLS team have to play during the international break. Like, that discussion will just be continuous and be just as long as the whole Reyna and Berhalter discussion and the feud that both of them is going through. But yeah, in terms of the Nation League roster, looking at the goalkeeping position, we got Ethan Horvath, Zach Steffen, and Matt Turner. Defender, we got Serginho Dest, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Brian Reynolds, Anthony Robinson, and Miles Robinson, Joe Scally, and Austin Trusty. In the midfield position, we got Brendan Aronson, Johnny Cardoso, Luca De La Torre, Weston McKennie, and Alan Sonora. And then in the forward group, we got Taylor Booth, DK, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Tim Way, and Alexander Jess rounds up your forward group. So again, when you look at this team, I mean, there's a mixture of kind of a team kind of players that have played in the World Cup that is returning for the Nations League roster. But obviously the big talking point you got to say about this roster is the fact that Gio Reyna was included in this roster. So for those that were thinking that is Gio Reyna probably is going to be exiled because of this whole ongoing feud that's going on, no, he's going to be included in the roster, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to play. And also, I won't be surprised, there's going to be at least 5 minutes that they're going to dedicate it in terms of talk about the Gio Reyna and or the Reyna family versus Gregg Berhalter situation, because again, anytime when we talk about the U.S. men's national team, we cannot not have the discussion about that ongoing scandal that is going on right now. And it sucks, the fact that it is the case, because I feel like for the U.S., they need to focus on the fact that, in these Nations League game, and I think it's next year's Nations League game, that's going to act as a qualification for Copa America that they're going to be going in 2024. Now, lastly, we're going to do the power rankings of MLS in terms of the top 10. Well, we're not going to do it, but talk about the top 10 power rankings the league basically released. So we saw a new number one again. This time it's LAFC getting the number 1 spot, followed by FC Cincinnati moving up to number 2. Then you got the Philadelphia Union in number 3, and then the Seattle Sounders sliding all the way down to 4th place after we're being number 1 last week. Then we got Nashville in 5th place, St. Louis jumping all the way up to 6th place, Atlanta United in 7th place, Austin FC in 8th place, New England in 9th place, despite the hammering that they took to LAFC. It didn't drop them out of the top 10. But then in 10th place, we have FC Dallas rounding off the top 10 of the MLS Power Rankings. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the news of the week. As always, if there's any news that I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. And also let me know in the comments below what do you think of the news here on the board as well. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.